Good morning and welcome to Daylight Church Online. We're just so thankful that you're joining us this morning and hope that you have a great experience. We want to let you know that if you'll go to mydaylightchurch.com, there's a card there that says Online Church. And on the Online Church card, it'll tell you everything you need to know about being a part of our online church community, how you can get involved in small groups, how you can give financially, how you can be involved in the service projects that we do. So even if you're in Kansas or Cambodia, you can sure join us and be a part of our church. We'd like you to check it out there and introduce yourself. So go to mydaylightchurch.com and check out the online church card. Thanks.
Good morning. It's the introvert's favorite week, table time. If y'all are new around here, every once in a while we do a time where we just get around tables and talk to each other. So there's no traditional sermon. There's somebody up here kind of leading the talk. So what I want you to do is, if you're not at a table, you don't have to, but it would be great if you got around a table. If you're at a table by yourself or you see somebody at the table by yourself, get up and make a table. And if you're with a bunch of people that you know, this might be a good time to get to know somebody else. So while they play the music and we set everything up, take a few minutes, introduce yourself at your table, find a table, all those kind of things, and then we'll get going. All right, we got our introductions going. Everybody got we used to do the animal that starts with your name, like Rusty Raccoon. That used to be our table breakup, but I'm sure you figured out a way to know everybody's name. So what have we been talking about for the last 6 weeks? That was kind of slow. What have we been talking about for the last 6 weeks? So guess about what we're going to talk about today. Nice. So here's what we've done so far. Love, peace, joy, patience, and kindness. Y'all all got this nailed, right? All right, awesome. So, table time. We're going to talk around the table and talk to each other, but a couple of rules just to kind of get us going. This ain't Monopoly. So the whole idea is to listen to each other and everybody gets to talk. So if you're talking a lot at the table, it's probably your turn to not talk. I'm not going to call out any names, but a lot of us and extroverts really love to talk. So this is not the time. We want to hear from each other. This ain't a pulpit. Well, this is, but not out there. So don't get too far on the soapbox, right? Number one, get to know, listen. Like, this is where sitting around a table to me is where you get to hear people's stories. You get to hear their hearts. You get to hear what they're going through. Everybody's approaching these gifts of the Spirit differently. Some people hear patience, and some people love patience. Some people are like, not again. But you get to hear where they're coming from and why they're that way. What's up? And if you're online, this is a great time to talk or journal. And also, if you're an introvert, you don't have to participate, right? This isn't like going around the table and everybody has to talk. Also, pay attention to the people at your table, and if they're just not going to talk, that's fine. My wife at the table, she's not here so I can pick on her. My wife at the table would not say anything, but if she ever did, listen, it's going to be amazing. Y'all ready to start? Ready for your first question? What is the difference relationship between mild sorts of trauma that we endure, long suffering, and the ability to wait for what is good for us, patience? What is the line between a really, really hard trial and destructive trauma? Okay, I'm just kidding. All right. So that is an example of an amazing question. I'm going to put this back up there. So I'm going to put this up there because this is an amazing question. This is what we get through the text line, questions at Daylight. This is the kind of thing we get, right? This is an amazing question. What's the difference between long suffering and patience? Depending upon your translation, that's what you get for that word. So, number one, this is a plug for Questions at Daylight. We'd love for you to send these questions in because this is where we create sermon series, we create sermon talks, we create things to talk about around tables. Like, these are the kind of questions that we get because this is what y'all are thinking of, right? So, we're not going to do that one today, though. But if you have some ideas on that, I'd love that. So we can talk about that. We can do a sermon series on that. We could do an entire series just on that one. All right, so softball. Which fruit do you connect with easiest? So what's your favorite? Which fruit do you connect with the least? What's the hardest to connect with? 1, 2, 3, go. I'm going to give you, and then we're going to come around with the microphone and let some people talk. 1, 2, 3, go. So I thought this was obvious, but someone asked, are we talking about real fruit or fruit of the Spirit? We're talking about the fruit of the Spirit. There's always someone who asks that question, though. So you can start with what your favorite fruit is if you want to do that as an icebreaker, but this is the question we're looking for. All right. I love people are talking. That's amazing. You kind of got the rhythm down? So, Siler, are you going to do it? So, Siler has a mic. So, I'd love to hear some thoughts because, yes, we're community at a table, but it's also community in this room. So, I'd love to hear a couple of quick thoughts about what your table talked about or what you talked about. Now, a couple of rules with the mic. So, Siler has been instructed not to let go of it. So, he's going to lean it into your face and you can talk for a few minutes or a few seconds, not a few minutes. Talk for a few seconds. So raise your hand if there's something you want to say to the group. This table really wants to talk. Remember, you can't have the mic. He's not going to let go of the mic.
One, two. There we go. Apparently, I was dressed for the spokesperson role today. But at our table, we talked about kindness and how it is one of the cheapest and easiest things that we can do and give. We talked about how it permeates and transfers to other people, and that we should exude that in hopes that others do the same.
Oh, she said you won. Oh. Your turn. You sure? Nancy, you raised your hand.
No, I raised my hand for him.
Okay. Well, you can't raise your hand for him.
Who's next? Somebody else have something?
All right.
So, all right. Well, we were just discussing because we have some new friends and whatnot. But anyway, so I will touch on joy very quickly because I'm 44. And at 24, I would have thought joy and happiness were the same thing. But now that I'm a little older, joy isn't necessarily even feeling happy. Joy is a very, I relate when I saw that. The one that I went to is joy just because I understand joy differently as a deeper thing. That sometimes even in sadness, there's joy. And that it's, you have to earn and work towards joy. But once you have it, and know how to keep working the good and the bad days, it just puts you, I feel like, more Jesus-driven and purpose-driven now that I have some idea what true joy is. So that was mine. So
one more.
Go.
Anybody have one more?
So oddly enough, too, I think this kind of coincides with the previous really long question that was on the screen. That through basic like daily life struggles and things like that, I think most people can attest that joy is probably the hardest to connect with, just because it's not something that we practice actively. We practice going to work, taking care of our kids, taking care of our families. And we forget about ourselves and all the daily hustle and bustle, and all that stuff. And so I think when it comes down to it, I think that we should make that a priority to kind of, what is joy? What do we enjoy? What do we get out of being alive and being present in the world other than just taking care of responsibilities? And so for me, I think that is definitely something that I'm going to try to focus on and try to find the core meaning behind what is joy for me and how do I practice that every day.
Good. Now, somebody have one that they hated, like what they really had struggled with? Anyone have one? Y'all all nailed. Y'all have all this nailed. Okay, good. That'll make the rest of this easy. All right, so one of the things we did with the youth is we tried to make this real. Like we talk about these concepts of hope and joy and peace. Like we talk about these big concepts. So one of the questions I asked them, which I really think helped, is who do you associate this with? So I want you to personalize it. So when you look at this fruit, right? When you look at these words, who do you look at and go, that person really embodies joy to me? Who do you look at and say, now that person's peace? So I want you to talk about your table. Like, think of somebody, like, take a second and think. Who do you think of when you think of peace? Like, that's a peaceful person. Okay, you got the question? It's who. We're personalizing it. 1, 2, 3, go. All right, cool. You get some personalization going on? This is a good question, wasn't it? All right, Siler, you got the mic? All right, who wants to brag on some people?
Is it on?
Anyone? Anyone
Okay.
have an embodiment of joy
Me.
or love or peace?
Me.
Go ahead.
Okay, so whenever I think of somebody, I think of patience and I think of you. Because we're a lot of, like, most of us are middle school students. So, you know, we're always talking. We're always trying to communicate with each other. And I think it's really good that you tie in us talking to help us express ourselves through your teaching, you know, and us expressing ourselves, it makes us all feel good because then we can help you teach better, you know.
I'll pay you later. Thanks. Yeah. I'm not crying. You're crying. Yeah, follow that. Good luck. All right, who else? Got one up here.
So we're sitting at a family table. Kara's now part of our family. And we were just talking about my mom, Mary Jo, just being so, you know, peaceful and joyful. And it's kind of annoying sometimes how joyful. But, you know, she just doesn't wake up and have bad days. You know, she's not complaining. She's painfully optimistic. And those are great qualities, because if you want to complain and whine about something, don't do it to her, because she's just going to have, your cup is going to be a lot fuller than when you sat down. So, but that's just something that people kind of really embody. We were also talking about the difference in, you know, happiness and joy, where I think happiness is a lot of times what happens to you, whereas joy is just something inside of you along with hope. So those are meshed in between those. So that's my answer.
Darren.
Is there one chair?
Hi, my name's Darren. I'm new to the church here. So I was looking at all these, and my mentor really embodies a lot of those. Dan May back home in Springfield, Illinois. But I would say the one he embodies the most would be the love of Christ. Because he loved me enough in my addiction that he corrected me in such a way, but my heart had become offended, and I ended up leaving the church at that time. But years later, he actually ended up becoming my mentor, and it was through that relationship and the love that he had for me that he began to teach me how to get in the presence of the Lord and how to pursue that, and how that really begun to change my life. And so I give a shout out to him. He had a massive stroke here a few years back, so he's yeah. Anyways, well, that's all I got with that. Thank you.
You got one more? Anybody? Right up here.
When I think of love, I think of my father, this guy right here. Just throughout my life, I'm not going to look at him, but throughout my life, I have seen my dad just take people in. Like the boys that would work at his shop, if they didn't have anywhere to go, they would come to our house. We have often had random people at Thanksgiving and Christmas. The boys that would work for him would come knock on our door when they had a problem. reached out to his family over and over again and tried to keep those connections alive when they have not put forth the same effort. I mean, it's even like there was a day we were leaving here and he said, oh, the siding is falling off. I'm going to come back and fix that. And it's just, if he sees something, he will do it. If he has a friend who says, hey, I'd like to learn how to weld, he'll say, come on over, I'll teach you. And I mean, sometimes I'm too tired to take out the trash and I just want a nap. But Dad is go, go, go. And it's always go, go, go for everyone else. And he brings a lot of love and joy to other people through his acts of service. I wish he loved me half as much as he loves my daughters, but we are working on that in therapy.
To me, this just made it easier. If you, like, we're striving at, like, we talk about being more loving, we talk about being more peaceful. Sometimes just thinking about a person who embodies that helps you do that, helps you get a picture of what that looks like. So perfect. Thank you for those. So last week, how many of you were here last week and saw the kindness videos and we're just bawling the whole time, right? We did it in the youth group too, so we're just bawling. The reason kindness videos affect us so much is that we see the kingdom breaking through. So we talk about the kingdom around here a lot, and now it's just the kingdom breaking through. But the reason kindness videos break through is because, like, we get to see it, like everyone does it. We get to see that little bit. And imagine a 5-minute patience video. Wait, there's more. It's been like 30 seconds. But all of these are the kingdom breaking through, right? Like, that's what we're shooting for. We're shooting for bringing the kingdom, right? So kindness is one of those that just makes sense. We can see it. It's a little deeper question. So what does it mean that we help people see the kingdom when it's breaking through? So love breaks through, is showing the kingdom breaking through. Peace is the love, is patience breaking through. Is love is the kingdom breaking through. So what does it mean to watch the kingdom breaking through? Like, what does it mean that the kingdom's breaking through when we show these things? Making your brain work a little bit, aren't I? The first ones were softballs. So what does it mean to bring the kingdom? What does it mean that these are the kingdom breaking through? 1, 2, 3, go. All right. I heard a lot of talking, so it was a good question still, right? Y'all still had something to talk about? All right, let's hear from a couple. Anybody? Anyone want to tackle this one? Remember, I'm patient, so I can wait. I heard lots of great conversation. All right, go ahead. But nobody else volunteered, so you get to do it.
So, maybe I'm a heretic. My studies
Is that in Jesus' day, the Jewish lawyers, they really just like to sit around and discuss, the Jewish Bible. Yeah. And so when they asked Jesus about eternal life, they weren't thinking about after death. They were saying eternal life and how do I live a life most fulfilling here on earth, right? So when I hear eternal life, that's what I think. Like, how do I live a life that's most fulfilling? And so bringing the kingdom of heaven is trying to figure out how to live your life to be the most fulfilling, not just for you, and really you last, but most fulfilling for anyone in your sphere. And it's not easy to do. And so anytime that you can help somebody have a little more fulfilling day, right, or a fulfilling life, and then like my wife mentioned, I think, and this also makes sense, when you see somebody do something that's just not human in a good way, like, where did they get the strength for that? Where do they get the kindness for that? Where do they get the patience for that? And then you ask them, like, I've never seen anybody react like that. And then they say, well, it's my walk with Jesus. So, and like we have a couple folks that serve, and I asked them about the 5 fruits, which ones jumped out for them, and they were like, when people are kind and patient. So now when I go to a restaurant, I'm going to focus on Be patient, be kind. No matter what happens, be patient, be kind. Because that, to me, would seem like a Jesus thing to do.
Yeah. Got one over here, yeah.
I think we collectively came to the conclusion that seeing the kingdom breaking through is when we stop relying on the words that we say to give a picture of Christ, and we start presenting Christ with kindness and love without expecting anything in return. And we let our actions manifest Jesus and let Jesus take care of the rest of it. We don't need to say why we're doing it unless it's part of the conversation or why we are. We just need to show the love of Christ and let Jesus take care of the rest.
Which leads us perfectly into our next question. Thank you. So we talk about the concept, these are the fruit of the Spirit, right? So who does it? The Spirit, right? So the first talk talked about like not trying to strive after these things, like I need to be more loving and I need to more, but we need to let the Spirit do it. But then the youth pushed back at me and said, yeah, but aren't we supposed to do something? Like, isn't there some role that we have to play? We're supposed to let the Spirit grow these in us. But is there a role we play? Is there a piece that we have to do? How do we move from doing the fruit to being the fruit? There's still a piece that, like, we want to be more peaceful. Like, there's still this, like, I want to be more peaceful. I want to be more like this person I've had in mind, right? But the goal is to be the fruit, right? That's the concept we've kind of talked about. So talk about your table. How do we move from doing the fruit to being the fruit? Where it just becomes part of you. 1, 2, 3, go. All right. Good conversation? All right, who's got it? Who wants to talk? We got one right up here. Siler. Raise your hand so he can know you. There you go.
Okay, an example of going from doing the fruit to being the fruit is like, instead of like saying, oh, I need to do kind things, be kind. Like years ago, I got into the habit of holding the door open for strangers, men and women, and tell them good morning or good afternoon. In fact, a few years ago, an elderly man was walking into the Circle K on this corner right here. I held the door open for him and told him good morning. And I think my kindness shocked him because he looked like he was about to have a heart attack. And I'm just trying to be kind. I'm not trying to give anybody a heart attack. But instead of saying, oh, I need to be kind, or instead of talking about, oh, doing kind things, I decided to be the kind person and set the example by holding doors open for strangers and saying good morning or good afternoon.
Right, yeah. One in the back.
So my table said I should say this. For me, this question hits really hard. For me, the going from doing to being is that self accountability and self inventory. Going from, like, when I was younger, I would identify myself as being caring, being loving, being kind, patient, a giving person, and through my experiences, I have seen myself grow away from a lot of those qualities. And in order to be that, not only do I have to recognize that I've lost those qualities, but I have to want it. I can't just go around and do good things because I want the reward. I have to want to be a good person. And in order for that to happen, I have to sit and recognize myself as not being a good person first and deal with that pain that comes with that. And then that starts to change your heart, I think.
Great perspective, yeah. Can I pick on you? Come on up here to Chloe. Chloe's one of my youth that she sits in the back and she has a great smile and says things and talks things, but when she talks, everybody in the room stops. So I want you to hear what she said.
Okay, so I was kind of touching on how you said that you have to let it grow inside of you. And so doing that, you have to water it and take care of it, and you have to really consider it. And so by doing that, you have to start off with, smaller things. Like a lot of times I'll say like, bless you, and it just becomes a habit. You have to do things like that. So for example, how Dorothy was saying how she held the door and then it just became a habit for her to start doing, that's letting the Spirit grow inside of her. And she is showing that to other people.
Thank you. All right, one more. Anyone? All right, so the next step is we're going to do the rest of the fruit. So I want you to kind of remember these questions as we do through the next set of fruit, right? So these are the same kind of things we're going to talk about. We're going to do this table again at the end. How can I do this? How can this grow in me? How can this grow in me? How can I be like this? How can I be more like this? How can I let the Spirit move through me? Who embodies this that I can kind of be an example of? Thank you for participating. Thanks for letting us do something different because we love it. Thanks for getting to know each other just a little bit more because God put us in a community to learn from each other. Have a great week.